Welcome back to the Piney Woods Homestead, y'all. Appreciate you stopping in this morning. Give you a little weather update. Y'all, summer's back. It left for just 2 or 3 days, had some cool temps come in, but now it's back this morning. It's humid. It's like a jungle out here. I want to show you this grape jelly first before we do anything. Lisa has made a bunch of this grape jelly, and this is off those scuppernongs. It's a nice bronze color, and y'all, it is excellent. And she made it in the traditional fashion without adding pectin or a whole bunch of sugar. Basically, the pectin from the fruit itself is what made it turn into jelly. But y'all, it's excellent. We've been eating it, and we've got enough probably put up now, golly, for probably 2 years plus to give some away to folks. And she's still up there working on it. Y'all, we even put juice up, and we put a little bit up for communion, if you know what I mean. Guys, what I'm going to work on today is completing the firewood bunk that I showed you was partially done in, I believe, one of the last videos. And I'm also going to work on a little measuring tool, simple measuring tool, something that's easy that you can use to mark off your basically 16-inch pieces of firewood when you're bucking up your logs. There's plenty of ways to do it. People have different ways. This is just the way that I like to do it because it's extremely simple, probably the most simple way there is to do it, in my opinion. And so I'm going to show you how to do that, and then we're going to work on that firewood bunk a little bit, and probably put this Echo through a few logs. So guys, thanks again for stopping in. Hit the like for us, subscribe to the channel if you hadn't, and if you have, as always, y'all, we appreciate you. We're going to get on to doing a little bit of work here on the Piney Woods. So y'all, all I've done here is taken a piece of 1x4 lumber and I put me a stop on the end of it, or a catch. That way I can lay this thing on top of a log with my catch on there, and I'll know exactly, once I measure off and account for that catch that I put on, 16 1/4 inches. That 1/4 inch extra that I'm doing will account for the kerf on my chainsaw when I'm cutting through these pieces of firewood. That way, once this wood dries, you still are left with a 16-inch piece of firewood. Now, yes, it's going to shrink a little bit. That's why I'm going to go just a hair over 16 1/4. It's not going to shrink much lengthwise, but it will shrink widthwise. Lumber draws, or firewood even, draws its moisture out from the end of the board or the end of the piece of firewood, and in essence, it takes it and shrinks it down. When the water is drying out of it, it'll shrink it. It's not a ton, y'all. It'll shrink lengthwise just a hair, and I'm talking just a hair. But if you're going to sell any firewood, in my opinion, you want to do it on the up and up, and that means getting everything dialed in just right. $14, $15, $16, $16 1/4. We're going to go ahead and go to 16 and just over 1/4 here. Now I'll take my little square and I'll put me a straight line right on that. Now let's see what that is. The center line is 16 1/2, so that's the kerf of the bar. Basically the width here of that Sharpie is 1/4 inch, right at it. So by the time that piece of firewood is cut, it's going to be 16¼ inches long. It'll shrink maybe a 1/16, but that way we're guaranteed to have over a 16-inch piece of firewood, not under. All right, got my first mark. Now I can just simply go down the entire 1x4 with the tape measure and mark off just over 16¼ put me that straight line on there using the speed square, and this board will be ready to throw up on top of a log and get my cuts. And I'll show you that here in just a little bit. But for now, I'm gonna go down through here and get all this marked up. Now y'all, that's not going to work perfectly, that board that I've made for every single log, because of knots, bows, stuff like that. But y'all, it will work pretty good if you don't want to buy something to go onto the end of your bar, and those are pretty handy. Or if you don't want to pull a tape and mark with lumber crayon every single time, it will work pretty handy on most of your logs. But I'll go ahead now, fire that echo back up, and go ahead and buck that one short log up. Y'all, that wasn't that bad. That Echo does a fantastic job at Timberwolf. And y'all, these logs, they have not been down that long. They came from a construction site not far away from here. where the grading contractor was taking out the timber, and he needed to get rid of some of it. So I was fortunate enough to get a couple of loads of it. So it's been really nice to get good straight firewood to work with. And some of it I'd like to put on the sawmill, a couple of these logs, but really need firewood. So we'll keep bucking it up, y'all. But that's all the bucking up I'm gonna do right now. Just wanted to show you how this little contraption that I put together, didn't cost me anything but a couple of screws, already had the boards, works on most logs. And you know, if you got one on the side here that your board won't sit on, you can always run a couple of screws in it just to hold it temporarily while you get your initial saw marks. Or you can go out there and buy one of those things that goes on the tip of your bar. I don't have one, and the only main reason I don't is because knowing myself, I will reach down and grab that thing to take it off while my saw's running, and I just don't want no kind of accident. So I don't know if I trust myself enough to use one, y'all. Lisa barely trusts me enough to get out here and run the saw this morning sometimes. Y'all, I'm picking about that. Lisa knows I'm safe. I take my time and I'm methodical. I'm not trying to do production work, y'all. I'm just trying to live and work at my own pace. I like my pace, slow and steady. Slow and steady wins the race. All right, let's get on to working on this firewood bunk. I want to finish that thing up, and I'll let you see what I'm doing there to finish it. Now, y'all, all I'm doing here is taking this 3/4 inch material, starting it about 3.5 inches up so I can have plenty of airflow, and just kind of like a corn crib, building it up to sidewalls so that there's plenty of airflow from the ends as well as the sides. All right, y'all, what you're looking at here is a firewood bunk that will hold just over a cord of firewood that's green. And it's going to hold more than that, actually, because 48 inches is about right here where my hand's at. I've got it marked on the other side. So I've got about 6 inches of headspace in here. So it'll make it easy to stack that wood the higher I get. If you'll notice down here on the bottom, I've got my 3/4 inch slats. And it's designed so that I can put 1 stack, 2 stacks, 3 stacks, 3 face cords, or 1 full cord in here. And over here, if you can see down in here, are 2x4s built out so that the forks on the tractor can slide up from this side of the, basically this big old pallet rack I've built here, this firewood box, can slide up under it. And I can pick this thing up and move it. So it's basically mobile. I can move it around, and it'll be set up inside of the firewood area out here on 8-inch cinder blocks. So I get maximum airflow to help this wood dry. That way, within a year's time, depending on the species, everything is ready to go, ready to sell, ready to burn in these EPA restricting stoves we got nowadays. Guys, I'm gonna end it right there today here at the Piney Woods. Appreciate you hanging out with me. It's getting kind of hot and I need to stop for the day. Get cleaned up, do a few other things. Work on this video editing for one. I can hear those pigs hitting their new feeder down there. They are really liking that. Didn't take them a day or two to figure out where the feed's at. And leaving that little one side of it open really helps them to get used to going in and out of that feeder. And when we actually shut that lid this morning, and I told Lisa, I guarantee you by lunchtime, dinner time, they'll be in it, and they are. I can hear them. So that's a good thing. Guys, if you've watched us for any amount of time now, we've been on here for about a year, you know how we lean. Politically, we don't talk about it a whole lot, but you know how we lean. You know how we lean spiritually, because we do talk about that from time to time. And we put our faith in Christ, as I'm sure you can tell. Hopefully you can anyways. If not, we're probably doing something wrong. But guys, we're not like most homestead channels. And if you've been on YouTube looking around, you know that. We grew up doing this for the most part. We didn't leave the city life to start a homestead. We're not showing you how to make thousands of dollars selling pork or chickens or vegetables. We're just showing you how to live. And we feel like that's probably the best thing to do this day and time, because unless you're living under a rock, you see that things are going kind of chaotic in the world. So it's a good time to be putting up food. It's a good time to be getting into that Bible and reading a little bit and praying. It's just a good time all around to be tightening things up. And when I say tightening up, that just means getting everything in order. It's a good time to do that. It's never a bad time. And y'all, we've actually lost some subscribers, I believe, due to our stance that we put out there on straightforward homesteading, our faith, and maybe some of my sarcasm, because it is kind of dry humor sometimes. But anyways, guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us. If you've subscribed, we appreciate you. And if you're watching and hadn't, hey, we appreciate you too. Guys, y'all have a good day, a great week. We'll see you on the next video.